Good afternoon. I am Bren Kinney, Manager of Member Services with the Ohio Restaurant Association. It's my pleasure to welcome you to Great Guest Experiences Can Boost Revenue with Bob Pacanovsky of Robert J. Training and Design. This webinar came out of conversations with members who, when asked, what can the ORI do for you, answered, get me more customers. As you may know, the Ohio Restaurant Association Restaurant Education Series provides members free access to educational events that help them sustain and grow their businesses and are developed based on member feedback. RES events support a key ORA initiative, the education of our members. All educational events are posted on the ORA website, ohiorestaurant.org. To find past events, go to the Education and Events tab, then Restaurant Education Series tab. This is also where this webinar recording, along with the PowerPoint slides, will be posted in the next 2 to 3 business days. Heartland Payment Systems is the lead sponsor for all RES events. We thank them for their support of this valuable programming. Before we get started, I want to review a few housekeeping items and let you know how you can participate in today's webinar. At the end of the webinar, we will answer your questions. However, during the webinar, please feel free to send questions to the moderator. I'll show you how to do that momentarily. After the webinar ends, a survey will pop up. It will take you 3 to 5 minutes to complete. Please respond to this survey in order for us to improve our restaurant education series. We want to make sure that we're offering education you find valuable. First, for those who haven't been on a webinar before, let's orient ourselves. We're looking at an example of the GoToWebinar attendee interface, which is made up of 2 parts. The viewer window on the left, which allows you to see everything Bob will share on his screen, and the control panel at the right. Within that control panel is how you can participate in today's event. So let's look at that. By clicking the orange arrow, you can open and close your control panel. From the View menu, you can also set the control panel not to auto-hide when inactive if you prefer to always keep it open. The audio pane provides audio information. By default, you have joined the webinar via mic and speakers. Click Audio Setup to select your computer speaker or headset devices. If you prefer, you can join the audio via telephone by selecting Use Telephone, and the dial-in information will appear, including an audio pin. At the end of the presentation, we will answer your questions. Please send questions through the question box. Simply type in your question and hit send. If you are having any questions or issues with this webinar, this is also where you want to send those notices to me. So a little bit about your speaker. I'd like to welcome your speaker, Bob Pacanovsky of Robert J. Training and Design. Good afternoon, Bob.
Hi, Bren. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate you taking the time to be here today with me. And I know your schedule is very busy, but I want to thank you for being here. I hope I can give you some tips, techniques, ideas that will help you create that great guest experience that will help you boost revenue. That's really the whole key with the business model. And just to briefly tell you a little bit about myself. I have been in this business for close to 20 years now, actually over 20 years, and for the last 14, I was the owner of an off-site catering company in Northeast Ohio, where we catered at a number of high-end venues all over, and I just recently sold my catering company this past September. But during that time, I was able to cater over 7,000 events, and I wanted to tell you a little bit or about what I was doing, because for me, what happened, and I apologize here, Bren, because I lost my screen.
Okay, it should be back. We are seeing your screen, though. You want to just click on the slideshow. There we go. Sorry about that, guys.
Sorry about that. And so I have people that work for us that are very similar to people that probably work for you, where they work part-time or part-time as needed. And so I had to put together based on the venues that we represented, I had to put together a corporate culture training program, because these people would either work just a few times a week or maybe just a few times a month. And it was very important to me that we needed to make sure that our staff understood how important the guest experience is for our company and for our clients. You know, I couldn't go up to the father of the bride after a wedding and say, you know, Mr. Smith, I'm so very sorry that we just really screwed up your only daughter's wedding reception. Can we come back next week? And I promise you we'll make it better. You'll have to pay for it, of course. No, I couldn't do that. So we had to really create a model that over 7,000 events, we had to really create 7,000 great guest experiences. And I'm happy to say that by and large we accomplished that. Our staff understood the importance of the culture of our company, and we were, over the 14 years, really able to increase our revenue, book a lot of repeat clients year in, year out, not only corporate but on the wedding market. We had families coming back with us with other people getting married. So I've trained a number of staffs, including not only my own but other restaurants, caterers, hospitality people. And so I wanted to put this to good use. And so I always ask this question when I start out, and I know what the answer is. Of course, it's yes. But how many of us really practice and really believe that we give great customer service? This quote here is by a business author, customer service author, Scott Gross, who also owned franchisee of some quick service restaurants. And he did a research study with his team. And here's what he found. And most people are really quite shocked by that, because everybody thinks that people are coming back into your restaurant or your hospitality business because of the food. And yes, food is very important, and how quality food is very important. But I'm here to tell you that the service aspect is, I believe, as does most other people, far more important, because you can have average food, but if you have great service, if you have those people that are so passionate about your business, you're going to get those repeat clients. Because what I talk about with my clients is I want you to move the needle from being a satisfied guest, having satisfied guests, to now having loyal guests. Because once you move that needle to have loyal guests, you will now have people who are raving fans for you. They will talk about you all the time. They will bring people to your restaurant. Versus this, you can't create the best food in town, but if you don't know how to treat people the right way, and you don't have your staff trained to treat people the right way, well, you'll be eating by yourself. I always love to start out with this thought. First of all, it's written by a great man, and that caught my attention. But what I love about it is this thought is kind of the backbone for my culture process. Because first of all, I believe service was the backbone of our company. But what I share with this thought is I wanted our staff to buy into this, so that every time they worked, they could do it as well as Michelangelo painted or Beethoven composed music. And the people would say, and rather than use the past tense that lived, here lives a great, and put whatever term it is, a great manager, a great chef, a great wait staff, a great host, whatever it is, who does his or her job so well. That's contagious, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure you know that. But you have to have people on your team that understand how important the service aspect is of your company, and to try to reach those people to make a great guest experience. Because let's face it, people don't have to go out to eat. And I know that might shock you, but we can go to a grocery store, buy the food, prep it at home, cook it, eat it at home, clean it up, and never leave the comfort of our home. Why do we go out to eat? Why do we go out to be entertained? Because we would want to have an experience. And I don't care what type of hospitality business you're in, from fine dining, quick service, casual, caterer, whatever it is. People want to have an experience. They are there spending their hard-earned money now more than ever before. Their money is now hard-earned, and they want to be treated the right way by everyone on your team. And so that's why this opening thought is so powerful, that people have to understand how important this really is. because all of your staff are diamonds, ladies and gentlemen. They're so valuable to you. This photo here is a picture of the Hope Diamond. It's the largest known blue diamond in the world. Its estimated value is $323.6 million. What would happen to that Hope Diamond if it got chipped or cut or shattered? Well, the value of the diamond would go down considerably. Your employees are diamonds. Every one of them is so valuable to you. I'm sure if I could see you right now, I would ask you how many of you never want to hire another person again, because you'd be so happy with your staff that they would stay with you for the entire time. Of course you would say yes. Hiring is really not one of the funnest things that we can do in our industry. So make your employees feel so valuable. Now in turn, they have to be as valuable on their end to you. They have to show up on time. They have to carry a great attitude. They have to have knowledge of their job and their tasks. They have to treat people the right way and not being rude or not being the elephant in the room, because more than ever today, ladies and gentlemen, we are now being observed all the time wherever we go. We can be videotaped, audio taped, photographed without anyone knowing it. And so how do your employees treat your company and your brand, not only at work but outside of work? How valuable is your brand? Your brand is really everything. How do your employees treat that? Well, with a great corporate culture, they're going to be so positive about your brand that people are going to look and say, "Boy, there's something different about that team." They really enjoy coming to work. Why? Because they are so valuable. You are treating them as diamonds, and in turn, they're treating your business as a valuable diamond. Because here's what we get today in our culture, correct? All of you are also consumers. You go out to retail establishments, to other dining establishments, and you know this is what we're getting a lot. We're getting people who really aren't caring that much. All of a sudden we're in this what's in it for me society now because of our technology and everything else. And I've done a lot of research. There are a number of reasons why people give poor customer service. 4 of those are they could be hungry, believe it or not. They could be hungry. They could be angry at something going on in their life. They could be just downright lazy, or they could be tired. Well, you take the 4 letters of each of those words, and it spells the word halt. Halt that behavior. Stop that behavior in them. If they're tired, make sure they get some rest. If they're angry, well, gosh, I'm sorry, guys, but what I told all my team is, folks, I understand life, it gets in the way for you, but when you come to work for us, you have to perform. You have to be on stage. You have to be so happy and so friendly that it's contagious to everybody else. But right now, we get people who really just don't care a lot. And we settle or as consumers, we settle for this good enough mentality of service. Well, service shouldn't be good enough, because good enough, in my opinion, never is. I ran across this study, and there are, this top column, and I'm going to show you the bottom column. This top column equals 27%. And frankly, this top column really doesn't have much concern on my end, because this is what I call life getting in the way. We are going to have customers who are going to move away, or whatever. We're going to have people that you can try your very hardest to please them, and for whatever reason, they are not going to be happy with you. I get it. And I'm not really concerned about that number. Here's the number that really concerns me. 73% of them quit. Why? Because someone on the staff doesn't care enough about their guest experience to make it worthwhile for them and for your company. So they may be a satisfied guest. You may have done all the big things right. The food's on time, the food's decent, it was served properly, but maybe it's just the attitude of that server or that hostess or that porter, whoever it is, that just shows that you're not that important to me. You don't care, or really, I don't care about you, and that attitude's coming across. If you can drop that number, 73 to 63, to 43 to 33. That means you're moving the needle from satisfied to loyal, and that can those are the things that people start to get talking about your business, and sooner or later, I truly believe that you'll see that boost in revenue. Why? Because people want to come back because they feel wanted. They feel like they have got a great guest experience, and on top of it, they have gotten a great meal. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? These numbers here can be the same for your staff. Why do our staff quit us? Well, it could be the top number. They could move away for whatever reason. But more than likely, the bottom number, why are they quitting us? Because as a management team, as a leadership team, we don't care enough about them. We aren't treating them with the proper respect. And they're getting tired. And frankly, they're going to move somewhere where someone is going to treat them the right way. So keep these thoughts in mind because it is so very important today. Because this could happen. This was a photo that I found online, written in ketchup, underlined in mustard. Ladies and gentlemen, if this happens in your restaurant, more than likely you're not going to be around much long. But customers now more than ever, because of our social media and because of our technology, can now tweet, post, click in a heartbeat their experiences, right, wrong, or indifferent. We now live in a word of tweet and a word of click society. Word of mouth is really no longer there. And now rather than telling 3 people about their experience, they might now be telling 300 people, 3,000 people, 300,000 people. And it could be a great experience. It could not be a great experience. And even more so with our social media. Your guest could be sitting at your table in your restaurant and tweeting how great the experience is or how poor the experience is. They could be videotaping your staff, showing a lackadaisical attitude or a non-caring attitude, just how they're standing, just how they're treating customers, now for everyone to see. I know all of you, I'm sure, are monitoring Yelp and all those online review sites. If you're not, please start doing so, because there is a portion of that population right now that will never walk into your restaurant. The first thing they'll do is they'll look at Yelp. And if they see a number of bad reviews, more than likely they're not going to come in. So if you're not doing that, please start doing it. And please start making sure that your positive reviews far outweigh your negative reviews, because that itself could keep people away from your restaurant. Why? Well, maybe it's just because how the other guests have been felt that they've been treated, and maybe those are those 73% of people that just aren't thinking that you care enough about them. So your staff that we should know. This, of course, is very obvious. Of course they're going to tell others when they get bad service. But now take the word tell out of the equation and put post, tweet, click, whatever it is on online. Now, that is something that's always been true. Here's the one that really got me. And you can see it's from the same author that I talked about earlier, Scott Gross. The key word here is the word exceptional. When they get exceptionally good service, they will make raving fans of your company. They will tell everyone. Why? Because we don't see exceptionally good service that much anymore in our economy. So if you can move that needle to those loyal guests, now they may be a little more demanding, but they're going to start talking so much about you, and they're going to start bringing people into your establishment. That's what's going to grow your business, are those loyal guests. So think about this, because here's, this is what you want. You want the raving fans. This is a testimonial that we received from our catering business, and the brief story is this gal had never hired a caterer before. She had a large party at her home last summer, and frankly, she was nervous. She heard all the horror stories about caterers. Oh, they're not going to show up on time. They're going to have poor food. The food will be cold. The staff won't care. Well, we proved her wrong. So much so that she took the time to write this wonderful email to me. And she talked about how great our staff was and how they treated her. And I love the word that you see there in the second paragraph about our team. We're true pros. We heard that a lot about our staff. Your staff is so professional. They're friendly. My favorite that I heard, your staff is invisible. I love that. For me as a business owner, one of the keys was that last sentence. And guess what? She did follow through on her promise. We did hear back from her because this past summer we catered another party for her. And I talked to people that knew her during the course of this year, and all they kept telling me, Bob, Stacy just keeps talking about your company, on how wonderful your team treated her and her guests. And so she became one of our raving fans wherever she went, and they asked about caterers. Ours was the first name that was mentioned. And we got other business because of what she was raving about us. That's what I'm talking about with loyal fans that are raving for you. That's what I'm talking about, where it's a strong culture, where all of my employees bought into the fact that even though it wasn't their company, it was their job to just create this great guest experience for those clients. Because again, we got that one shot, and we did it, and was very happy to see that. So it does, I believe, start with the culture of your organization, and it could be the difference between having a team effort and having that lone ranger, having those people that are going to do their own thing. Why? Because just because they want to. They don't want to follow the culture because it's not that important to them. Well, I'm here to tell you that teams win at the game of life, and so you have to create a team effort so that everyone feels appreciated. Everyone knows what's going on that team, and everybody knows what type of job they have to do. Why? Because we're here to help create this great guest experience. There's hundreds of thousands of restaurants out there. Why do they choose yours? They choose yours because they want to feel special. Make them feel special, and make the entire team make them feel special. I'm sure you've seen these two management type slides. I'm not here to tell you which one is right and which one is wrong. I'm here to tell you the one that we chose to follow as a company was the one on the right, was the inverted pyramid, because the guests for us are the lifeblood of our company. So they should be the most important people in our company, because without guests, it goes back to my first slide, you'll be eating the food by yourself. Underneath them are those frontline people in your organization who could be the only type of face time that your guests have are with your wait staff, your bar staff, or your kitchen staff. They never not even meet the manager or the owner. All they could meet, and they base their sole experience on how they were treated by that frontline person. Well, the pyramid on the right shows that the guests are first and the ownership is the least important. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm saying that on the pyramid on the left, the guests are on the bottom. Well, guess what? Your employees now know that the guests aren't really being treated that well, so why should they treat them that well? Okay? So this is part of your culture. What type of pyramid do you want to create for it? And so with the pyramid on the right, you can empower your staff to make those choices and decisions that will help create the great guest experience. Because once your staff is empowered, they are now going to be so much more passionate about their jobs and about your business. Here's another thing that I believe really affects the culture. And I ask you tomorrow, or maybe later tonight, step outside your establishment and put yourself in the minds and thought process of a new prospect or a new guest who has never walked into your place of business before. Because, as you know, real estate is all about location, location, location. Well, guess what? Your culture plays into that. Because within the first 5 minutes that a guest comes into your establishment, they could more than likely tell what the culture of your business is by just looking at 3 different things. Mind you, they have never even ordered yet. The first is, what does the outside of your building look like? What does your parking lot look like? Is it littered with trash? Are your windows dirty? Is the lobby dirty? Or then if you have a patio, what's that look like? That's those first impressions. You've all heard this before. You know it. What do your restrooms look like? I always have to chuckle when I walk into a restroom in a restaurant where the sign says employees must wash their hands. Of course they must. But then I look around at the rest of the restroom and I see how filthy it is. And I'm wondering, hand washing is not going to really help. But you do this as a consumer. When you walk into a restroom and it's filthy and you're in an eating establishment, what do? You have second thoughts. So make sure it's everybody's job to clean the restrooms. And then what does the appearance of your staff look like? Are the uniforms uniform? Are they dirty? Do they have a big ranch dressing stain on them? I understand part of the work shift happens. Stuff like that happens. But people are judging the culture of your organization maybe by these three things even before they order. So their mind may be made up already on what their experience is going to be just by seeing these three things. I just went out to eat last Thursday at a casual restaurant here in our area. And it's the second restaurant. The first restaurant's been in a college town close to us for 75 years, but they decided to open up a second one in a more upscale part of our community. And I really be honest with you. Yes, and the parking lot looked great, the restroom looked good, but then the staff was dressed in these T-shirts, but then they had on all different types of jeans. They wanted to make it a casual sports bar feel. Well, they just didn't look really good because somebody was wearing faded jeans. Somebody had some jeans that looked like they had some holes in them. I just didn't have a good feeling about it. But people definitely keep this in mind about your culture, or what are your employees looking at when they come into work? Because frankly, your guests are looking at the same thing. So how do you, and we'll fill in the blank, how do you start the culture today? How do you improve it? How do you tweak it? You may have a culture already that you just need to tweak. That's great. Well, these three things are really important. You have to observe as a management and ask your employees to observe. What are they seeing? Put themselves in the eyes, the feet of a customer or a guest. What are they seeing? I've done some mystery dining before, where I've had some restaurants bring me in, and that's always something good. Make sure that your team is able to ask you questions, and you ask questions of your team. How can I improve this? What do you think we need to do? They want to feel important. They want to feel asked, and we have to talk with them. Don't just be barking out orders, because that culture says, as an employee, you're not that interested in my opinion. You just want to bark orders at me. So put these three things together. Have staff meetings that if you're not having weekly staff meetings or bi-weekly staff meetings, have them, because it is that important. And training is so very important. I love this slide that I found. I know what you think, guys. Some of you, that training is a cost. I get it. I truly get it. But I firmly believe that it's an investment. You have to train your people. Our program that I put my catering staff through is a 6 to 8 hour program, which very few caterers do that. The first 3 hours are spent on the corporate culture of our company and what it means to work for us. The next 3 hours are task-oriented training. You have to invest in your people, because they could stay, and that could be terrible for your business. Bren?
Yes, Bob. Let's ask people if they have a employee orientation training program. So everyone, if you would please just vote, and we'll give you about 15 to 20 seconds to vote on that. And as soon as I see that most of the people have voted, I will go ahead and close the poll and get you results. Okay, we have about 60% of you voting. Time to make your voice heard. And let us know if you have an employee orientation training program. Yes, no, or if you're not sure. Okay. Well, I am going to close the poll right now. And here we go. So it looks like 63% of those have a training program, and about 38% of our persons in the that are participating do not. I think we were going to go ahead with the second poll question that's related to this one as well, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so let me launch that. So these are for the people that said yes. So if yes, how many hours is the training program? So if you could go ahead and vote. And I'll give you about 15 to 20 seconds, so we need to click quickly so we can move on to the meat of our program. Okay, a few more people. We have about 50% voting, so I'd love to get 100% of those yeses, those who said yes to participate. Not sure if people are having questions with how to vote. All you have to do is click on the little button to the left of the answer. So if anyone's having questions or issues with voting, that's all you have to do. Okay, well, I'm going to close the poll now and get your results. Okay, so there are the results. 2 to 4 hours, more than 4 hours, and some of the 50% looks like they're constantly training their staff. So I'm going to give it back to you.
Great, thank you, thank you. Well, that's very encouraging to hear. And as you see on the next slide, part of our culture of training is that we developed a mantra for our employees. A mantra is an internal mission statement that I sat down with my employees and said, I want to help, or please help me create this mantra so that everyone understands how important it is to work for us. And so that's what we did. We created this mantra. Now, most people don't really remember all those words to the mantra, but you see the 3 words that are underlined. Those are the 3 words that our employees understood. A team, make it easy, and wow our guests. So here's one of the things we did when we went to events. We would post signs that said Team Easy and Wow, or at our in our catering office. But we'd only have those up in our office for about less than 2 weeks, and we always put them on a different color piece of paper. And then we'd take them down for about 2 or 3 days, and then they'd show back up again with another different color piece of paper, because over time your eyes get stopped used to seeing that, and so all of a sudden people kept seeing that, and they just bought into the Team Easy and Wow aspect of our company. So it does work. So I do believe that a healthy corporate culture improves your company in many different ways, and I won't go into all of but it's kind of like the domino effect, ladies and gentlemen. If you get this healthy corporate culture, it's going to help every one of these aspects of your business, which in turn helps the bottom line. Because I always ask the question, what makes you money? Well, I believe what makes you money is having happy and loyal guests who are coming back in and telling their friends and colleagues about you. They do that because they're being treated wonderfully by your staff, and the culture of your company is such that your employees want to be there. They want to help increase revenue, and in turn, it helps everybody. So I have created this program that I call Reaching the Peak. You see on this slide, and PEAK is an acronym. We're going to hear what these 4 letters mean here very shortly. But reaching the peak, you should never be satisfied to get to the top of one peak, because there's always probably another peak that you can get up to. Also, I tell my staff, never be satisfied with standing at the top of the peak, because somebody could be walking up, get up there, and knock you down. So peak is easy for people on our staff to actually think about because they know that the peak is the summit. So here we go. The P stands for perception. It is so very important, ladies and gentlemen. It is 9/10 of the law. Going back to my earlier slide about the first 5 minutes on how important that is, that's all about perception. Your staff has to know that they're being watched and being observed all the time, especially now more than ever in our society with our technology. So who or what do they see as a guest in your establishment? Do they see employees yelling at one another? Do they see them always on their phones, now not talking but texting like they're not caring? Are your menus looking like they're, or looking like they're photographed or photocopied from 1993? And what do your tables look like? Are people in your organization walking past dirty tables and not bussing them? This is all perception, ladies and gentlemen, and it's so very important because your guests are making decisions based on how they perceive your restaurant, your catering establishment, your country club, whatever it is to be. You may have the best food in the world, like I said earlier, but if your place is dirty and your employees are mean and rude, it really may not matter. This is something that I talk about on what the elevator rule is. Really briefly, what this is that if you're in an elevator with someone, you should, going up or down the elevator, you should keep your mouth shut because you never know who's standing in front of you, who's standing behind you. Well, take out the word elevator and put in the word hostess station, server station, kitchen, hallway, restroom, parking lot, whatever it is. Perceptionally, people don't want to hear your staff talk negatively or about each other or about the guests. That does not set the right experience for them. So please make sure that your staff understands that everything is positive when they're out in public. Not only when they're working for you, but when they're not working for you and they're off the clock and they're wearing your logoed shirt. Make sure that they understand how hard you work as an owner and how hard they need to really represent your company and your brand in the best light possible. So, I mean, perception really plays a big part, and I tell my people all the time, guys, what are people saying about us when we're doing an event? Because when we cater an event for 200 people, there have got to be some people that are in the audience that work for another caterer, work for a restaurant. What are they saying about us? How are we, or how are we perceived to our competition? The E stands for elevate. You need to do the little things to elevate your work, to help create the experience, because I do believe that if you create this experience, people will talk. It's doing those little things. More than likely you have the big things down. You have very good food and you serve it in a timely basis. Wonderful. Now it's those little things that can elevate your game to keep reaching for that peak. And it's the little things that can make a difference. Like, for example, this is the state dinner at the White House. If your team got invited to serve a meal at the state dinner in the White House, would you go? Of course you would. Would you be on your very best behavior and at the same time be very nervous? Sure. Are there people within your organization right now that you would not want to take with you to work at the state dinner at the White House? I don't know that answer. Maybe yes, maybe